Hi everyone. Just going to wait a few more minutes and then we'll get started. Okay. So forgive me for taking a little time to get started because I'm really new at this Facebook page and I'm trying to get used to how to maneuver everything on here. So anyway, welcome. Hi, Anna. Nice to see you back again. So I have 3 questions for you. Do you blame other people in your life for the problems that you're having? Do you continually blame yourself for who you are, who you think you are? And do you harbor anger and resentment and hatred towards yourself and other people? Hi, I'm Susie Grusin. If you joined me last week, thank you so much for coming back. If you watched the replay, thank you for watching. I hope it helped you. And if you're new here today, coming to my Facebook Live on this page, well, welcome. Again, I'm Susie Grusin. I'm a woman who suffered with BDD and an eating disorder for over 30 years, but I've overcome it. I've learned tools and techniques to help me manage the obsessive thoughts, the obsessive behavior, the negative thoughts, the negative feelings that we have that comes along with BDT. And I'm here because I want to be able to share with you what I've learned and share the tools and techniques that hopefully will be able to help you down the road and now to get onto the road of recovery. I'm going to come here each week and share with you these techniques. I'll be here every Tuesday at the same time. I also want to tell you that I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist, and I'm not even a behavioral therapist, but just a woman whose goal and passion is to share what I have learned, hoping that you can start healing yourself also. What I'd like to do is share with you my story. When I was growing up in a household where there was a lot of fighting and a lot of tempers flared. My mother had a very volatile temper, and quite frankly, it scared me. I was a child who was scared of my mother. Not only that, she was very critical of me. She was critical of the things that I'd done or that I was trying to do. When I was younger, I would go to visit my grandparents on the weekends. At least twice a month, I would spend my weekends with my grandparents. And I felt very loved and nurtured, and I felt like I got a lot of attention. And my grandmother, she loved to cook and she loved to feed me. So I felt very supported and cared for. But then it was time to go home, and I didn't want to go home. But when I did, I remember one time my mother said to me, "Oh my God, what did that woman do to you? You got so fat." Can you imagine your mother saying that to you and what that felt like for a little child? Not only that, my mother would call me names. You see, because of her temper, I was so afraid of her, I became very, very shy. And she would say things to me like, why are you such a scaredy cat? Why can't you just go out and play with the other children? What are you so afraid of? And why can't you just be? And why can't you just do? Wow. How hurtful and painful is that for a little child? That information was already being programmed into my psyche. You see, when I got older, I suffered with poor self-image. And I married a man who would mirror my low self-esteem. Now, what do I mean by mirroring my low self-esteem? I know he cared about me, but he would flirt with every woman. I mean, he would constantly flirt with other women, and that brought down my self-esteem even further. And it was very difficult for me. I would constantly compare myself to other women in the street, in the supermarket, compare myself to celebrities in the magazines, compare myself to celebrities that were on television. Why couldn't I look like them? Why couldn't I look like this small, petite, blonde woman, or any other woman for that matter, that my husband would flirt with? It was really wreaking havoc on my psyche and my physical health, my health. I would constantly look at myself in the mirror. What could I fix? Constantly step on that scale, hoping my weight would be the number that I wanted to see. And constantly doing the obsessive things that we do when we have BDD. I would body check constantly all day long. It was wreaking havoc on my life. I sought help from a therapist. I needed help, so I went to therapists. I went from one to the next to the next. And yes, therapy does help. I went from one psychiatrist that brought me to a certain point, and I learned from that person. But I couldn't learn anything more. So I sought help from another one, and the same thing happened. But what I came to realize was I wasn't happy in my marriage. I wasn't being respected, I felt. And I had to end that marriage, and I got divorced. And guess what? My BDD cleared up. My eating disorder was getting better. Oh my God, I found the answer. But then I went back out on the dating market, and it triggered my BDD again and my eating disorder. It triggered because, again, I was constantly comparing myself to everybody else. Why were they better than me? Why didn't I look a certain way? Fast forward, and I had to look back on my life and see, where did the BDD begin and why did I feel this way, which was extremely helpful. And yes, I learned some of these things in therapy, but now I really had to take control because I couldn't allow that to continue in my life. I looked back where the BDD started. Naturally and obviously, it started when my mother put those negative thoughts in my head. You see, because when we are children, we don't know any better. So we take what they say as truth. But I came to realize that I needed to forgive my parents for not knowing any better. I needed to forgive them because they were operating from a place of lack in their life. You see, when we grow up, we don't have, when we are parents, we don't have a handbook. So I know they did the best they could. I know my mother loved me, but not the way I needed to be loved, without the criticism and without the temper. And I know she had that temper because, let's face it, she had a lousy childhood too. And she was doing the best she could. And my dad, he was very quiet and he stood in the background. But I was angry at him because he wouldn't rescue me from that crazy, scary woman. But he did the best he could. And so I learned to forgive them. And as far as my ex-husband goes, I had to forgive him too. Because what he was doing, his behavior, he wasn't doing it to hurt me. He did it out of his own lack of self-esteem. He never got the attention he needed in childhood. So when a woman would look at him, he would start flirting to get the attention, to see that he was okay, that women can accept him. So I learned to forgive, and forgiveness is so important. So what I want to share with you today, and possibly teach you, is for you to take a look back on your life. I know this may be a difficult task to do, but it's necessary. So if you can look back and see, where did your BDD start? Where in childhood, if it was in childhood, did somebody say or do something that affected you? Was there a specific incident? Could it be that you felt abandoned? Was there some sort of loss, maybe a divorce or a death or a loss of a said something to you that felt damaging or very hurtful to you, or you took it as truth, and now it's become a problem such as BDD. This person or people that may have made comments or said some things or had certain behaviors that you mimicked as a child, how did what other people look like? How did they deal with their emotions? Because let's face it, we are not taught to deal with our emotions. We weren't taught how to handle certain problems. So we focused on the outside. It's easier to pick at ourselves and blame ourselves than it is to really go deep and see where the problem stemmed from. I want you to understand, it's not your fault that you have BDD. It's not your fault because you didn't know any better. You weren't taught how to deal with your emotions. You weren't taught how to proper problem solve. So please don't blame yourself. Your parents didn't know how to do those things, so they didn't teach you. My mother was a perfectionist. She wanted her body to be perfect. She was always on a diet. It's Monday, let's start the diet. It's time to start a diet. She exercised every single day. Now, I don't know if you know who Jack LaLanne is, or if you remember who he is, but he was an exercise instructor, very famous back in the 60s and 70s. Yes, I'm dating myself. Where you can follow along with him on television and do exercise. So my mother would pull out that chair every day and exercise with Jack LaLanne. Now, yes, of course, she wants to be healthy, but I really think it was obsessive, compulsive need to be perfect. So I learned that behavior. So is there anybody in your life where you've picked up their behaviors? Possibly. Again, it's not your fault. You weren't taught proper problem-solving techniques or how to deal with your emotions. So the exact cause of BDD is not known, but there are certain factors that contribute to it. For instance, there could be abnormalities in brain structure or brain chemicals that are not functioning properly, genetic disorders, environmental factors, addictive behaviors, learned behaviors, as I mentioned. Hi, Eddie. Welcome. Thank you for coming. If anybody can, make some comments on what I'm saying, or you have any questions, go ahead and put it in the chat. So, learned behaviors. What are learned behaviors? Behaviors that are taught or mimicked, that we mimic from people that we look up to, people that we trust in our life. But learned behaviors become habits, and bad habits can be broken. So habits are something that's done over and over and over again without thinking about it. It becomes second nature. It's like brushing our teeth or taking a shower. These these behaviors that we learned, or these habits that we create, can be broken by creating new positive habits. How do we do that? By slowly practicing new behaviors over and over again, so they become new habits. Ever think of, songs that we know, the lyrics that we know from years and years and years ago? Why is it that we remember the lyrics from something that's 20, 30 years ago? Because we practice and we say them over and over and over again, so we remember them. It's the same thing with creating new habits. And another factor, you're welcome, Eddie. It's my pleasure to be here. And another factor is family culture. So understand, again, some of these things are not our fault. All of them are not our fault. Please don't blame yourself. I know some of you have also been diagnosed with other diseases. Maybe you have a bipolar diagnosis. Maybe you have severe depression. Some of you may even be suicidal. And if that's the case, please, please, please reach out. It's so important that we reach out to our community or people that we trust. It's very important. And even with just having a diagnosis of BDD, it's important to reach out for help. What I teach you here goes along with seeking help from a therapist, but you can start here and see if these tools and techniques that I'm teaching you do help. Okay, so forgiving yourself is very important. Forgiving others is so important, because when you hold on to anger and resentment, it keeps you attached to that person. It keeps you attached because what happens is we constantly ruminate those thoughts over and over and over in our mind and in our emotions. They stick with us, and you could never have peace of mind when you are constantly angry and resentful or have hatred for some people. You become a victim to your anger, and the toxic emotions of anger, resentment, and hate, they wreak havoc on your physical body as well. You see, when we have anger, resentment, hatred, jealousy, envy, or any negative emotion, it raises our heart rate. And not only that, it becomes toxic because we start to develop physical ailments. You see, when we are in that mode, so our body thinks that we're in fight or flight mode all the time. If you constantly have these feelings of anger, resentment, and hatred, and so on, it raises levels of stress hormones in our body. Our body releases stress hormones of cortisol and adrenaline. And when they stay in our body for days and weeks and months, it causes inflammation in the body, and that's when illness sets in. Illnesses such as severe headaches, digestive issues, arthritis, asthma, severe kidney issues, and diabetes. Resentment is about diabetes. Most people who have diabetes have a lot of resentment built up in their body. And even cancer can develop. We don't want that. We want to be healthy individuals. I know one of the hardest things to do in our life is to forgive somebody that has hurt us, that has betrayed us, that has even violated us. It's very difficult, but it is so very necessary. You see, holding on to these negative energies and these negative feelings keeps you stuck. It's like saying, I'll drink this glass of poison in the hopes that something bad happens to you. That doesn't work. That is not even possible. Not only that, that other person doesn't even know what you're feeling, and they don't even care. So it's really important to let go of the poison of the negative feelings, the negative emotions. So you really need to try to make a decision to let it go. You see, resentments get stuck in the body, these feelings get stuck in the body, and without forgiving and letting go, then you hit roadblocks in your life. you're hit upon these roadblocks that it makes it hard for you to move forward. It takes an awful lot of energy and a lot of work to hold on to these angers, these feelings, and to hold a grudge. It takes a lot of work to hold a grudge. So by forgiving and actually blessing those people, yes, blessing them for hurting you, we stop wallowing in the mud and we were able to achieve freedom. That's what we really want. So how does this all relate to body dysmorphia? It gets to the point where you need to forgive yourself. You must forgive yourself for the things that you think that you've done wrong. You see, shame and guilt can lead to negative self-talk, which sets up a pattern of self-sabotage and feelings of unworthiness. This is what we're all going through, and this is why we have BDD. See, the underlying feelings that we don't deserve because we're not worthy and because we think we're so bad makes it difficult to live our lives. So it may be necessary to identify the underlying beliefs and the negative emotions that you have attached to what you're trying to forgive. When we hold on to these negative emotions, sometimes we project these feelings onto somebody else. When we have these negative emotions, we're not able to see clearly. It's like looking through a dirty screen. And so when we are looking through this dirty screen, we are projecting our emotions because we don't actually see who we really are. And when we start to forgive ourselves, and when we start to learn that maybe we're really not that bad, maybe that thing that I'm trying to forgive myself for really wasn't so bad after all. Perhaps, maybe when we're able to see through a clean screen, when we're able to see ourselves more clearly, perhaps that body part that we see is so flawed, or that facial feature that we think looks so bad, is not so bad after all. Perhaps we can accept that body part or that facial feature easier. As I mentioned last week, it's very difficult to go from hating ourselves or hating that body part or facial feature to loving it. But perhaps we can start to learn to accept it. We can start to see ourselves through new eyes, through different eyes, eyes of compassion, eyes of acceptance, empathy, and understanding. Perhaps when we start to forgive ourselves, we can see ourselves differently because we're working on the inside. And when the inside starts to heal, the outside starts to heal. Perhaps we can start to see ourselves and our value and our worth and realize that we're just as worthy and have value as the next person next to us. You see, what BDD has taught me is that I am a strong woman. I can overcome adversities in my life, because overcoming BDD and an eating disorder, you have to be strong. You have courage to overcome it. I was able to see what I like and what I don't like, what I'm willing to put up with and what I'm not willing to put up with, and to see that I have value. My life is valuable. I am worthy. So I thanked myself. I actually thank BDD for the lessons that I have learned. It has taught me so much. See, also, when you're able to see yourself with new eyes, you can embrace peace. You can embrace hope. You can embrace joy and gratitude. Yes, again, gratitude. Gratitude for what this disease is teaching you. So what I'd like to share with you here today are 2 prayers, affirmations that I have used that has been very helpful in forgiving others and forgiving myself. It's something that I do every day. And it's not only the people who have, that I have perceived that may have caused the BDD, but it's anybody in your life that may have hurt you. So can anybody relate to what I'm saying here? Can you relate to the things that I'm sharing? Okay, comment if you will. Also, I'd like to share with you again these prayers. So let's go through these together, and I will start with the one about forgiving other people, okay? And let's do this together. So I'd like to put your hands together in prayer position and take your thumbs and put them against your chest, at the center of your chest, okay? And close your eyes and take a deep breath in and exhale. So through this prayer, it's going to talk about the I am. And I talked about this last week. The I am is our true self. The I am is our soul. The I am is us, our soul that's pure, that has not been bombarded by some of the negative thoughts and the negative feelings, because the I am, our soul, comes into our body and uses our body as a vehicle to move around in this world. The I am uses our emotions and our thoughts to do what it needs to do to accomplish things in this world. Okay? So the I am, our soul, is that part of us that comes down into our body, but it's part of our soul. The other part is our higher soul, which stays outside of our physical body. It actually guides us in this life. It's all-knowing, and it's there to also teach us from right from wrong and what we need to do and how to manage our life. So this prayer will also talk about the higher self. Okay? Again, hands at the chest level. Again, take a deep breath in. Your eyes are closed. And exhale. And I would like you to visualize somebody that you want to forgive in front of you. Visualize this person. Now, put your attention on your heart and just a few inches above your head, which is called your crown. Keep your attention as much as you can on your heart and on your crown. And repeat this after me sincerely. Namaste, namaste, namaste. The spiritual being within me acknowledges the spiritual being within you. Now, this part is very important when you want to forgive. The realization here is that we are all in the process of evolving. Now repeat, namaste. The I am within me acknowledges the I am presence within you. The child of God within me honors the child of God within you. Namaste. Now I want you to visualize this person's body disappearing, and all you see is a brilliant light, because now you're going to be addressing them at the soul level. Repeat. Namaste. The divinity in me salutes the divinity in you. Atma, namaste. We are all children of God. We are all in the process of evolving. Evolution involves time, process, and lots of mistakes. I had my share of mistakes and learned from them. So can you. I wish you the same. God's peace and love be with me, and God's peace and love be with you. You are completely forgiven. You are completely forgiven. You are completely forgiven. May you be blessed with inner peace and inner healing. May you be blessed with spiritual transformation and spiritual maturity. God's blessings be with me. May you spiritually grow and evolve. Namaste. You are completely forgiven. Go in peace. I completely release you. So be it. Atma. Namaste. Go in peace. Now be aware and be still. And let this energy of forgiveness flow through you. Now take a deep breath in and exhale and release. And now open your eyes. And what I would like you to do is take your hands like this, okay? And cross them in front of you and do this motion and say, cut, cut, cut. And now you're releasing yourself from that person. You're releasing yourself from the anger, the hatred, and the resentment that you may have. You're cutting that away from you and that other person. Okay, so that's the prayer and the affirmation that we do to forgive somebody else. It's very similar to do the one to forgive yourself. So let's go through that one, okay? So again, hands at the heart center. Close your eyes and take a deep breath in and exhale. And visualize yourself in front of you. Again, focus on the heart and the crown, which is just a few inches above your head. And repeat after me. Namaste, namaste, namaste. The spiritual being within me, your higher self, that all-knowing part, acknowledges there's a spiritual being within my physical body. Namaste. The I am within me acknowledges the I am presence within me, the physical me. The child of God within me, the physical me, honors the child of God within me, the spiritual me. Now visualize your body disappearing, and all you see is your soul. The bright light is your soul. Namaste. The divinity in me salutes the divinity in myself. Atma. Namaste. I am a child of God. I am in the process of evolving. Evolution takes time, process, and lots of mistakes. I had my share of mistakes and learned from them. God's peace and love be with me. I am completely forgiven. I am completely forgiven. I am completely forgiven. I am blessed with inner peace and inner healing. I am blessed with spiritual transformation and spiritual maturity. God's blessings be with me. May I spiritually grow and evolve. Namaste. I am completely forgiven. I completely release and forgive myself from any and all guilt and state any emotion that is holding you back, whatever that negative emotion is. I completely release myself from any and all and whatever that emotion is. So be it. Atma. Namaste. Now again, be aware and let the energy of forgiveness flow. Let it flow through you. Now take a deep breath, exhale, and release. And again, you may open your eyes, and let's do that cutting motion again. We're going to say cut, cut, cut. You're cutting and detaching yourself from the negative emotions and the negative thoughts about yourself, and start to forgive yourself. Okay, everybody. How's everybody doing? Let's hear. Let's put it in the chat. How are you doing? Okay. Any questions? Any comments? Open for questions and comments. Okay. So I hope this was helpful. Again, we'll see if we can post these 2 affirmations prayer on the Facebook page. And what I would like to do is challenge you. I would like to challenge you to do these prayers every day. See if you start to notice a little bit of relief. I also challenge you to continue doing the affirmation prayer, the I am the soul affirmation that I talked about last week. It's up on this Facebook page and you can see it there. So I challenge you to do these affirmation prayers this week and see if you start to notice any difference. Okay? And make some comments. Put some comments on the Facebook page. I would love to hear from you to see how this has been working for you and if you're enjoying these sessions. And I would also love to hear what you would like me to talk about. What are the issues that are really causing the BDD for you? What can I do to help you so we can have a conversation about it? Okay? All right. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. And I will see you next week. Have a wonderful week. Bye.